Step one, and helping ourselves become more powerful influencers to get what we want out of ourselves and what we want out of our lives by communicating more effectively with the world. And so step one in this process that I want to share with you in this video, this quick video, is this, and it's belief. We hear this word belief a lot, believe in God, believe in yourself, believe in love. But when we say the word belief, what does it really mean? What does it mean to believe something? I think that we almost take that word for granted, but we hear it so much. It sounds almost, almost too simple. Believe in yourself. Yeah, I believe in myself, but it's like this. If I was to ask you your name, if your name was Susie, you probably wouldn't wake up tomorrow and think your name was Bob or Steve. It just wouldn't make sense to you. And so belief is, it's not just like a thought or an idea or a hunch or an assumption. It is a feeling of absolute certainty. It's like it'd be pretty hard for me to convince you that your name is, Boba Fett if your name is Natalie. It just wouldn't make much sense to you because you would feel so certain. And that certainty would have been in you from a long time of conditioning, like your whole life, you responding to that name. And so a belief is a feeling of absolute certainty. So we need to have the same level of certainty about our own success and our ability to get our ideas and messages out to the world, just like you know your own name. You need to have that level of certainty inside of yourself, and that only happens through conditioning. This feeling of conditioning, we can't take it for granted. Sometimes we feel inspired, we feel motivated. To really be powerful communicators, we need to condition ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. We do that by getting into a state of massive emotion, thinking about what we want. You can call it motivation, you can call it inspiration, whatever you want, but it's a feeling that comes from you where you say, I will make this happen, I'm gonna make this happen. And so before I go and communicate with anybody, I think of why is this so important to them? Not to me. I do think of why it's important to me. That's part of my personal motivation, but why is it important to them? And so there'll be a conviction, there'll be a certainty, and I have a belief in me. It's like this person, this thing that I'm gonna communicate to them could be about their fitness or their life or their business. I feel certain that something's gonna come out of my mouth that could change that person's whole life. Now, I've done over 3,000 talks for the top self-development company in the world, and had the most success there, but every single time, I kid you not, I don't take it for granted. I do the research, I do the internal dialogue, the work on myself, and I think, and why is this so important to these people? There could be somebody in that room that's gonna commit suicide, and I've gotta penetrate them with my ideas. This feeling of certainty inside of me goes like, it's like, you take enough certainty and emotion behind something, it's like the example that we talk about, it's like, you could take these words that you have, like a little stick pin that you have on a shirt, if you're getting a nice dress shirt, and try to toss it at somebody and hope that it sticks. But when you put emotion behind your words, when you have this feeling of certainty, it's like taking a big iron bar and boom, right through somebody's heart. And they feel that. And so you can get this feeling, this conviction translated from inside of your being into somebody else's heart. And that's what they really feel, and that's where they connect. I've done lots of sales trainings for companies, and they have this scripted process, but the problem with that is scripted sales process and scripted people often sound like idiots. They sound like they're reading because they haven't conditioned that feeling of absolute certainty, that conviction behind their words, and you gotta have that. So I've done talks where people did not want to hear what I had to say. They had a sales meeting, they didn't want to go. I'm some effing motivational speaker. I don't need motivation. I don't need this. I don't want this. But I had a belief that they needed to hear what I had to say. And when two people meet, the person that is more certain, if there's rapport, if they have rapport, which is another step we'll talk about, if there is rapport, the person who is more certain will influence that of the person. Give them enough time. Somebody could convince you that a sky is a different color if they have rapport and you respect them and they're just so certain over a condition, they will get you to question yourself unless you have equal amount of certainty in the opposition. So certainty, one of my beliefs is every single time before I go communicate with an audience is that my certainty is so strong because I've done the work, because I've prepared, because I've conditioned myself, because I've gone in there and I'm the one communicating, I'm asking the questions, I'm in control of the situation, and my certainty is so strong that it overcomes their doubt. And through something else we'll talk about in a later video, I will create questions and situations where I actually infuse a little bit of doubt in somebody's life about what they're currently doing. Because we've all got doubt. It only takes a little bit of fuel on that fire to make it into an inferno. And at that time, when you can create some cognitive dissonance, this level of uncertainty when they think something's one way, but maybe it's another way now. And they start to get past those biases, they start to become open to ideas. But that only happens not just with words and scripts and fancy language or videos, but it happens with a feeling of absolute certainty. And so the beliefs that I have before I talk to somebody is like, hey, this person really needs to hear what I have to say. I have a belief that I'm humorous, that I'm funny, that people like me. You know, I've gone places where it was very obvious people did not like me and did not want to hear what I had to say, but I believed I was funny, but I believed they needed to hear what I had to say, and I believed they were gonna hear it and they were gonna like it. And after about 20 minutes of me being a goofball and making jokes and being absolutely certain and kind of had this feeling of conviction about what I was communicating and what I was selling, these people were like, all right, you got me. And I've had that happen so many times. And so you do it with a lot of other steps we're gonna talk in other videos, but the first is just that daily conditioning, reminding yourself of why you're doing it. Because you are gonna have moments no matter what you're selling or doing or putting out into the world, and the bigger your idea, the bigger the level of uncertainty you might have at times, that feeling of where you're not certain or not confident, so it needs to be conditioned over and over and over again. It's like, I love this quote from the late great Wayne Dyer. He says, if you took an orange and you squeezed an orange, what would come out? You say, orange juice. Why? Because that's all that could ever come out of an orange is orange juice. And so when life squeezes you, when people say no, it affects your triad, something we'll talk about in another video as well. But what it does is it tends to squeeze us in a way where something comes out. When you hear those no's and you get that uncertainty or things aren't going your way, something comes out of you. And it could be fear, it could be what's the point, this apathy. Only orange juice can come out of an orange, and only what's inside of you can come out of you when you get squeezed. And so we need to make sure that when we get squeezed, because life is going to squeeze us, that what comes out of us is pure, unadulterated certainty and passion and joy, and not in a sense that's like overpowering or negative or I've got something to prove. Having to prove something, you know, is something that pushes people away. Like when you've got something to prove all the time. But if it just comes, if love comes out of you and certainty that what you have is so powerful and can really serve not only this human being but the world and their family, the ripple effect beyond you from what's coming out of your words, out of your heart, and that infuses inside to that person, their words, their heart, it's going to affect how they, you know, communicate with their kids when they get home. It's going to affect their income. It's going to affect their health. It's going to affect the planet. And so you feel this level of joy and personal responsibility to communicate your message powerfully. And it's not just scripts and it's not just words. It's emotions, it's feelings, and the feelings that you need to think about when you talk about beliefs, absolute certainty. You communicate with that with your words, with your questions, with your focus, and also your physiology. It's something we'll talk about in another video as well. You want to be able to weaponize your body. Confidence does not waver, and neither do you. I'll see you in the next video.